And I want to bring in Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain. He's one of the most prominent and respected voices on the Indian Army, the Indian military. He's been a commentator for many years. He's served in forward areas, and he knows exactly what it means to try and reform the army, because he knows that the goals of Agnipath are noble goals, but the fact that there has been such a fiery backlash, General, and welcome to you, sir, means that there are concerns. There perhaps is a need to smoothen things out. I'd like you to start by telling me, are there some tweaks that are necessary to Agnipath to make it go down a little easier, sir? Because I don't think anybody can argue that the end game, the goals, the intentions of Agnipath are very noble and cannot be compromised.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you for having me on your program. And I start by expressing very deep regret for what is happening on the streets at the moment. This is a result of misinformation, and misinformation coming from where I really can't say. But obviously something which is changing after 75 years. That is almost 3-4 generations have gone past with this kind of recruiting scheme that we have always had. And suddenly change comes. Obviously, there will be a lot of consternation, there will be a lot of questioning. There's an information load which is taking place at the moment. And the kind of questions that were being put just now and the answers which I was seeing on your program just now is very clear that people are angry. They really are not looking at this with any sense of rationale at all. That is the unfortunate thing. The scheme, as you very correctly said, has got very noble end goals. But it's a question of making people understand it. It's a question of getting the right information into their minds. I think what is really troubling them is the future after 4 years. And bang, after 24 hours, we heard the Honorable Home Minister announcing that the CAPFs will have reserved vacancies for them. We heard the Honorable Chief Minister of Haryana speaking on this, and I'm sure lots and lots of many other political leaders and senior bureaucrats will look into this and speak about it. I would only suggest one thing, Shiv. Perhaps the one way of building confidence about the scheme is that the assurance on jobs post 4 years, some form of legislation could be brought about. Perhaps the believability, the credibility will go very high. No one is doubting the government of India, but what happens is people clearly who are very angry are looking for something to hold on to. I think legislation at this angle, at this time perhaps, may assuage a lot of feelings.
Very interesting that you're talking about legislation. I want to draw you to a couple of specifics also, General Hasnain. Concerns that the amount of training time as a part of Agnipath will not prepare soldiers, but you've actually spoken out and said that you've had people with less training than that doing the real tasks on the line of control. The second is, about 4 years. You believe that maybe this 4 years period should be increased just a little bit, maybe 5 or 6 years. Is that part of, what you're thinking about as a possible prescription, sir?
Sure, very early to say, because these are all things which have been well considered at this stage, no doubt. But my thought process is that in my experience on the line of control, in the LAC and places like that, I've had soldiers with normal training. Yes, the training is 36 weeks at the moment. But I said 24 weeks, and you give me a soldier and I put him on the job with the senior soldiers, with NCOs, with officers, 12 weeks more is no problem at all. So I think soldiers with 24 weeks of training are good, even under operational conditions, and actually are contributing tremendously and learning on the job all the time. Besides that, it's an interesting aspect that technical training, particularly for arms like the artillery and the Corps of Signals, etc., you may require some additional training for them. So that could be reconsidered, perhaps reviewed to some extent. And as far as the overall tour of duty is concerned, it's a question of how you get the bang from the buck. I personally feel 4 years down, the realization may come that we have given a lot to the soldier, but not taken enough from him in 4 years. And possibly 5 to 6 years may be a more optimum time to look at. This will automatically happen because I know a progressive review of a scheme like this is a natural thing that the Indian Armed Forces would always do.
Do you think there will, a lot was made with the announcement, General Hasnain. My final question to you, do you think that the possibility of making changes even after the rollout is built into Agnipath, the possibility that course corrections of the kind that you're talking about and perhaps some others will be possible so, legitimate concerns can be addressed?
See, Shiv, nothing is cast in concrete when it comes to HR management particularly. This is all related to HR management actually, and nothing is cast in concrete. We will start getting experience the day you get the first batch coming to us. And I'm sure there will be a system of review. Some important regular cell will be opened up in the Adjutant General's branch, which will absorb all this. There will have to be a very good SOP to ensure that there is total credibility in the selection system for the 25% people who will be selected at the end of the 4-year period. These are some of the things which will have to be gone into, and I do envisage that there will be course corrections all along, because no human minds can be perfect. We can come to all kinds of solutions, put our head together, but I'm sure ultimately it's the practical application on ground which will give us the best lessons.
General Atta Hasnain, always a pleasure, sir. Measured voice with specific prescriptive words on how this must go forward, and it's always valuable to speak to someone like you because you've been in the many positions that are directly affected by a scheme very much like Agnipath. So we very much value that. I hope many of the young persons out there, concerned about facts and perhaps recipients of misinformation are listening to people like General Atta Hasnain on this extremely sensitive and extremely important issue. Thank you very much, General.